Why now as a centrist independent?
I think everyone has been asking me that question, and to the outside world it might seem a little complicated. To me it's pretty simple. If you ask the question, what kind of country do you want to live in, and then you link that to the degree of toxicity and the self-interest and ideology of both parties unwilling to work together on behalf of the American people. And if you ask yourself, are we satisfied and do we trust the government today? I think both parties, there's not equivalency, but both parties are complicit in their inability to reach a compromise on the most simple issues, let alone the ones that are most complex. And I've come to the conclusion that the only way, in my view, to make a significant contribution in the lives of American families who are being left behind is not to embrace the status quo and to give the American people a simple choice. And the simple choice, in my view, is if we embrace the status quo of a broken system and government not working for you, it's going to continue to lead to decline, or let's give the American people a better choice. And that better choice, by the way, is a great expression of democracy, which would lead, in my view, to renewal.
When did you stop being a Democrat?
I think the party started losing me when the party started shifting so far left to progressive policies that I know in my heart are as false as, I think in the last 2 years under this president, and seeing such disgrace and a lack of civility and dignity in the office, for one, and then the Democrats not being willing on any level to try and reach a compromise on issues that I think the American people are longing for.
You're referring to Medicare for all, for example, right?
Well, if you add up the three policies that seem to be the backbone of the current Democratic Party in terms of the 2020 process, it's free Medicare, free health care for everybody, free college degree, and a job for everybody. In the 50s and 60s, if you were a blue-collar worker, the programs and the benefits that were in place were not suitable and compatible with a working-class family. And the specifics of that situation is my father got hurt on the job. He was a truck driver delivering and picking up cloth diapers, fell on a sheet of ice, and he was basically fired for getting hurt on the job. No workman's compensation, and we lost health insurance. And that completely fractured the family. And I remember literally the Jewish Family Services Organization delivering food to the apartment because there was no money for food. And in the late 80s and before Starbucks was public, the primary reason why I felt so strongly that we needed to provide comprehensive health insurance 20 years before the Affordable Care Act was because I grew up in a family without health insurance. I knew the fear of that.
There were a number of shareholders, big investors, who told you when you decided years ago, okay, Starbucks is going to provide health insurance to even our part-time workers, I think that work 20 hours a week or so. It was costing you more than coffee beans annually, and some of the investors thought that's really not a good idea. How much of your decision to push forward with that, not abandon it, was because of your father?
I think completely because of my childhood experience. But the lesson I learned along this way, which I've been criticized for a number of times, is that in business, every business decision should not be an economic one. And if you think about what we did as a company, providing comprehensive health insurance, ownership for every person, including part-timers, and then 3 years ago, free college tuition available for everyone at Starbucks. These are not programs that are mainstream corporations, and yet our stock price since 1992 is up over 23,000%.
Your experience in college, right, after football scholarship didn't work out, you gave blood to help pay for college.
So my parents couldn't send me any money. I took student loans, like many people did, but I had no extra money. I worked, and whenever they would accept my blood, I gave blood. I'm not embarrassed by that. That's just what I had to do to survive. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I went back into a cultural audit at Starbucks, which is a questionnaire, and I found out that 70% of our people at Starbucks had gone to college but didn't finish because of their debt. I wanted to try and do something about that. And then we created something that had never been created before, which was free college tuition in partnership with Arizona State University. And all these things are innovative programs that are not a proxy for the country. However, what is a proxy for the country is we must reimagine so much of our government programs that are not working for the American people. And the reason they're not working is because the two parties will not work together, because every day is revenge politics. And that is why, going back to your original question, I believe that it's time to kind of disrupt the system. And the only way to disrupt the system is to change it. But the issue in front of me then and all the years at Starbucks and as we sit here today is the issue of humanity. And I think my whole life has been trying to make decisions through the lens of humanity and do what's right, even though if it wasn't in our economic interest. That was probably the first time where I realized that the role and responsibility of a company is greater than just making money. And I don't believe that the two parties will ever work together in our lifetime. Just because there's a potential of a Democrat winning the White House, nothing will change. What I'm hoping to try and do is I believe we need to disrupt the system and reimagine it. If enough Americans believe that I, together with them, can disrupt and change the system and an independent person should run for president, what do I believe? I believe that the current system of broken politics, revenge politics, a lack of compromise, self-interest, self-preservation, constant party over country, day in and day out, is presenting a situation that could be cataclysmic for the country in terms of we are on a collision course with time, in terms of our democracy, our values, our ability to come together, the division in the country. The only way I believe that that can change if there's a new level of leadership that changes the system. I would look for support from the American people in terms of volunteering and any other way they want to be engaged with me.
On China, which you have traveled to China countless times.
Yes.
Starbucks has been opening a store in China every 15 hours.
Yeah.
The FBI director this morning, Christopher Wray, just said that the counterintelligence threat from China is, quote, more concerning than any counterintelligence threat out there. How would you handle China?
Well, I would take that very seriously, and I would be very, very tough diplomatically, again, with regard to China. But I do not believe that getting into a trade war with China, which results on the back of a consumer tax on the U.S. people, is the right way. But we need a strict diplomatic relationship with China. But let's go back to one thing. It is in the national interest of America to cooperate with China on two specific areas that are critically important. And that is, we need their help and counsel and support with dealing with North Korea. Getting out of TPP was a tremendous mistake by President Trump, giving China a stronghold and displacing us economically in the entire region. But we have serious challenges with China which are real. The currency issue, the trade issues, now cybersecurity, and we need tough negotiations.
North Korea, President Trump is preparing for a second summit with Kim Jong-un. Would you be meeting with Kim Jong-un right now?
I would not. I would not give him the stage. I would not give him the notoriety. No, that is not how I would proceed.
Immigration. I'm interested in what you would do and what you would propose as president for the roughly 11 million undocumented immigrants currently in this country, not just the dreamers.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Because this is the perfect proxy for the Democrats and Republicans not working well together. But I need to go back in history just a bit. So first off, President Bush and President Obama both individually tried to pass comprehensive immigration. A Republican president and a Democratic president both failed because the oppositional party would not allow them to have a political victory. That in of itself, isolate that as a primary example of Democrats and Republicans unwilling to do what's right for the American people. When 75% of the American people right now sitting here today want to see a solution that is sensible to immigration. So what would I do?
Yep.
First off, I agree with the Republicans completely that we need strict, stiff border security.
But not
with a wall, which is insanity, but we have the best, highest grade technology companies who are so innovative in America, and sitting down with them for one day, we would be able to create the most sophisticated, high-tech, preventive opportunity for border crossing. So I agree. I also agree with the Republicans, not the Democrats, that ICE has a major role to play in this. But Republicans want to strip mothers from babies and put kids in internment camps. I don't agree with that. What's the answer? First off, we're a country of immigrants. We're a country based on humanity and fairness. I think it's un-American for the Dreamers not to have a pathway to citizenship, and they should be given that. With regard to the 11 million people who are unauthorized, let them get in line, pay taxes, pay a fee, and over time, give them the opportunity to become Americans.
But they remain, under a Schultz presidency, if you had your druthers, those 11 million undocumented immigrants would remain in this country on a path to citizenship?
Correct.
You would not send them to their home country?
No, I would not.